Here's the real truth nobody in Hollywood wants to say out loud. Dwayne Johnson has been hiding in plain sight for 20 years. Not hiding his muscles. Not hiding his charisma. Hiding his actual ability as an actor, buried underneath franchise sequels, CGI spectacles and a marketing machine worth billions of dollars that decided the world only needed one version of him. The unstoppable version, the unbreakable version, the version that never sweats and always wins. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the other Dwayne Johnson. The one who cried on screen and meant it. The one who played scared and pulled it off. The one who showed every director in Hollywood exactly what he was capable of, and then barely got another chance to do it for 15 years. These are the top 10 Dwayne Johnson performances that prove he is more than muscle. And some of them will completely change how you see him. Let's begin. Number 10, Ballers, 2015 to 2019, cast as Spencer Strasmore. Before we get into films, let's start somewhere most people completely forgot about. Ballers ran for 5 seasons on HBO. Johnson played Spencer Strasmore, a former NFL star forced into early retirement by injury who reinvents himself as a financial manager for current players. A man who built his entire identity around physical dominance and then had to figure out who he was when that dominance was taken away. Sound familiar? It should. Because that is essentially the story of Dwayne Johnson's own life, the wrestler who had to rebuild himself when the ring was no longer the only option. What Johnson does across 5 seasons of Ballers is remarkable precisely because of its consistency. This is not a 2-hour performance where he can coast on charisma. This is sustained character work, vulnerability, ambition, failure, recovery, developed across 50 episodes of television. The quiet moments are where he shines. Spencer Strasmore in a doctor's office managing chronic pain. Spencer Strasmore watching younger players live the life he used to have. Johnson communicates grief and transition with a naturalness that his film work almost never demanded of him. Ballers is the longest unsung proof that Dwayne Johnson can act. 5 seasons. 0 credit. Number 9, The Mummy Returns, 2001. Cast as the Scorpion King. Stay with us on this one. Johnson appears in The Mummy Returns for approximately 5 minutes. He plays the Scorpion King, an ancient warrior resurrected as a half-man, half-scorpion creature who serves as the film's final villain. The CGI rendering of his character is genuinely terrible. Even by 2001 standards, the Scorpion King's digital body looks like a video game cutscene that didn't finish rendering. And yet, in those 5 minutes, almost entirely physical, almost entirely wordless, Johnson commands the screen so completely that Universal Pictures immediately greenlit a standalone Scorpion King prequel built around him, on the strength of 5 minutes. In a film where he was third billed behind Brendan Fraser and a digital scorpion. That is not muscle, that is presence, that is a performer communicating threat, power and magnetism with his body and his eyes in conditions that would have made most actors invisible. The Scorpion King appearance is the moment Dwayne Johnson became a movie star. Everything that came after was built on 5 minutes of wordless performance that Hollywood immediately recognized as something special. Number 8, Jumanji, The Next Level, 2019. Cast as Dr. Smolder Bravestone. Most people remember Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle as the better film, and by most measures it is. But the performance Johnson gives in The Next Level is significantly more technically demanding, and almost nobody talks about it. Here is what actually happens: 2 elderly men get sucked into the Jumanji video game. Danny DeVito plays Eddie, a grumpy retired diner owner who has never touched a video game in his life. When Eddie gets pulled into the game, his soul ends up trapped inside Johnson's avatar, Dr. Smolder Bravestone. So for the entire film, Johnson is not playing himself or a teenager. He is playing a confused elderly man who has no idea where he is, what is happening around him, or why his body suddenly weighs 250 pounds of pure muscle. The physical comedy that comes from that premise is extraordinary. Johnson lowers his center of gravity. He changes his walk, his posture, his relationship to space. He finds Danny DeVito's specific mannerisms, the shuffling steps, the suspicious squinting, the grumpy reluctance, and maintains them consistently across 2 hours of action sequences, comedy and emotional beats. This is character actor work inside a blockbuster body. It demands the kind of detailed physical observation that drama schools spend years teaching. Johnson figured it out through instinct and delivered one of the most technically underappreciated comedy performances of the decade. Number 7. Walking Tall, 2004. Cast as Chris Vaughn. Walking Tall is 86 minutes of Dwayne Johnson doing something the franchise machine never asked of him again, playing a completely ordinary man. Chris Vaughn is not a superhero. He is a special forces veteran who comes home to find his town destroyed by corruption and decides, not out of destiny or supernatural ability but out of simple moral fury, that enough is enough. What Johnson brings to this role is a grounded physical restraint that his later work completely abandoned. Vaughn does not move like an action hero. He moves like a man who is genuinely angry and trying to control it. The famous 2x4 sequence is not cool. It is desperate and ugly and human in a way that makes it far more powerful than any choreographed fight sequence. Johnson also handles the film's quieter emotional beats, the reunion with his family, the conversation with his father about what the town used to be, with a simplicity and sincerity that the film around him barely deserved. Walking Tall gave Johnson everything he needed to build a career as a serious dramatic actor. Hollywood looked at the box office numbers and handed him Tooth Fairy instead. Number 6. Be Cool, 2005. Cast as Elliot Wilhelm. Be Cool as a film is a wonder. We covered that in our underrated video. But what Johnson does inside that wonder deserves its own separate conversation. Elliot Wilhelm is a gay Samoan bodyguard who secretly dreams of being an actor. He is mocked, underestimated and dismissed by almost every character around him. And Johnson plays him, without a single wink at the camera, with complete sincerity and genuine dignity. The audition scene. That is the one. When Elliot finally gets his shot at auditioning for a Nicole Kidman film, Johnson drops every tool in his arsenal. No charisma shield, no physical intimidation, just a man who desperately wants to be seen as something more than his body, terrified and hopeful in equal measure. It is a 3-minute scene in a forgettable comedy sequel. It contains more honest acting than most of his blockbusters combined. Johnson understood something about Elliot that the script never fully wrote, that the most painful thing in the world is wanting to be an artist and having the world see only your exterior. Given his own journey from wrestler to actor, that reading was not accidental. Number 5. Gridiron Gang, 2006. Cast as Sean Porter. This movie could equally come as number 1, cause Gridiron Gang is where Johnson proved he could anchor a serious drama without a single explosion to hide behind. Sean Porter is not a hero. He is a probation officer, underpaid, underappreciated, working within a system that has already decided the teenagers in his care are beyond saving. His decision to start a football team is not dramatic, it is desperate. It is the act of a man who ran out of other ideas and decided to try the one thing he knew. Johnson plays Porter's frustration with a specificity that the role demanded and most stars would have softened. He is not patient with these kids. He is not endlessly warm, he gets angry. He gets tired, he makes the wrong call and has to live with it. The scenes with the teenage players are the most revealing of Johnson's career to that point. He matches their energy without overwhelming them. He listens, actually listens, in a way that creates real on-screen relationships rather than a star surrounded by supporting players. Gridiron Gang flopped. But it remains the purest example of Johnson as a character actor, before Hollywood convinced him that character acting didn't sell tickets. Number 4. Snitch, 2013. Cast as John Matthews. Here is the one that changed what we thought Dwayne Johnson was capable of. John Matthews is a businessman. Not a soldier, not a spy, not a superhero. A man who owns a construction company and drives an 18-wheeler and has absolutely no business being within 5 miles of a drug cartel. And that is exactly where Johnson spends most of Snitch. Out of his depth, terrified. Making it worse with every decision. The key scene, and the moment that should have changed Johnson's entire career trajectory, is a simple conversation between Matthews and his son in a prison visiting room. No action, no threat of violence. Just a father trying to explain to his child why he is about to risk his life and not entirely sure he can justify it. Johnson is heartbreaking in this scene. Completely stripped of every tool that made him a star. Just a man who loves his kid and doesn't know if love is going to be enough. Snitch made $43 million against a $15 million budget. A genuine hit by any measure, and Hollywood responded by putting Johnson back in action movies where he punched helicopters. We lost something when that happened. Number 3, Pain and Gain, 2013, cast as Paul Doyle. 2013 was the year Dwayne Johnson tried to become a real actor. Snitch in March. Pain and Gain in April. Two completely different films, two completely different characters. Both in the same year. Neither launched the serious career they deserved to. Paul Doyle is the most morally complex character Johnson has ever played. A born-again Christian ex-convict who falls back into addiction, violence and delusion the moment the money starts flowing. A man who genuinely wants to be good and cannot locate the part of himself that knows how. Johnson plays Doyle's descent with a physicality that goes beyond muscle into genuine psychological disintegration. Watch the progression. The early scenes where Doyle is nervous and sincere, the middle section where cocaine has replaced conviction, the final act where he has become something unrecognizable even to himself. That arc requires an actor who understands how people actually fall apart. Not dramatically, not in one moment, but gradually by degrees. Johnson charts it with a precision that Michael Bay, of all directors, recognized and gave him full room to explore. Paul Doyle is simultaneously funny and frightening and desperately sad. All at the same time, in the same scene. That is acting. Not muscle. Number 2, Faster, 2010. Cast as Driver. Driver does not have a name. He does not have a backstory explained in dialogue. He does not have a redemption arc or a love interest or a moment where he cracks a joke to release the tension. Driver has a mission. His brother was murdered. The people responsible are still alive. He is going to fix that. And Johnson communicates everything. The grief, the guilt, the singular focus, the cost of what he is doing to himself, without a single line of dialogue that isn't absolutely necessary. This is the performance that proves Dwayne Johnson could have been one of the great silent movie era physical actors. He speaks with his body, his eyes, the way he holds himself in space. Every scene tells you something about Driver that the script never bothers to explain. The most devastating moment in the film is when Driver completes his mission and realizes, standing in the silence where his rage used to live, that the revenge didn't fix anything. Johnson communicates that realization without a word. Faster was dismissed as a generic revenge thriller in 2010. The performance inside it is one of the most purely cinematic things Johnson has ever done. And almost nobody saw it. Number 1, The Smashing Machine, 2025, cast as Mark Kerr. Everything on this list, every restrained moment in Walking Tall, every vulnerability in Snitch, every moral complexity in Pain and Gain, every silence in Faster, all of it was preparation for what Johnson does in The Smashing Machine. Mark Kerr was one of the most dominant fighters in early MMA history. He was also a man being destroyed by addiction, chronic pain and a sport that had no plans for what happened to its warriors after the fights ended. Johnson plays Kerr across the most difficult years of his life, the peak and the collapse happening simultaneously, neither one canceling the other out. What makes this performance different from everything else on this list is its totality. There is no moment in The Smashing Machine where you see Dwayne Johnson making a choice. There is only Mark Kerr, confused, powerful, broken, searching, existing in every frame. The physical transformation is extraordinary. The emotional availability is extraordinary. The willingness to be ugly, to be weak, to be wrong, to be lost. All of it extraordinary. Critics called it transformative. The Venice Film Festival gave it a standing ovation. Awards bodies took notice. And Dwayne Johnson, after 20 years of being told his body was his talent, finally proved that his talent was something entirely separate from his body. The Smashing Machine is the end of one story and the beginning of another. The story of an actor who was always there. We just had to wait long enough for Hollywood to get out of his way. Here is what this 10 performances across 25 years of filmography prove. Dwayne Johnson was never just muscle. He was never just charisma. He was never just a brand or a franchise or a marketing category. He was always an actor who happened to be built like a monument, and Hollywood spent 20 years making sure you never forgot the monument long enough to see the actor. The performances on this list exist because someone, a director, a writer, a producer, looked past the body and asked a different question. Not what can this man lift, but what can this man feel? And every single time someone asked that question, Johnson answered it. Drop a comment below. Which performance on this list surprised you most? And which Dwayne Johnson role do you think proves he's more than muscle that we didn't include? Subscribe to America's Vault. We'll be back with another Hollywood performance here on this channel. See you in the next one.